Hello dear friends and welcome. It's always so good to gather like this, sharing thoughts and insights that can help us live healthier, happier lives, especially as we cherish these wonderful years. Today, I want to talk about something that many of us enjoy, perhaps without a second thought. A warm, fluffy bowl of popcorn. It's a classic comfort food, isn't it? Perfect for a movie night, a cozy evening in, or just a simple, satisfying snack. And for many, the easiest way to get that popcorn fix is by popping a bag into the microwave. That familiar aroma fills the kitchen. The popping sounds build anticipation. It's a simple pleasure. But have you ever paused, just for a moment, to wonder what goes into making that microwave bag work so well? What allows it to contain the oil, withstand the heat, and give us those perfectly popped kernels? It's something I hadn't given much thought to until recently, and what I've learned has made me want to share this with you. Because sometimes, even in our most familiar routines and simplest pleasures, there can be hidden aspects that are worth understanding, especially when it comes to our well-being. Today we're going to look a little closer at those convenient microwave popcorn bags and explore a potential concern that's been gaining attention. The possibility that they might be releasing substances that aren't so great for our health, particularly for our lungs. Now, this isn't about causing alarm, but about fostering awareness, so we can all make informed choices that feel right for us and our families. So if you're curious about what might be lurking behind that xiangtian aroma, I invite you to stay with me as we gently uncover this topic together. Let's start by trying to understand where this potential poison, as some have starkly called it, might come from. When we talk about toxins in microwave popcorn bags, we are primarily referring to a group of chemicals known as PFAS, which stands for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. You might have heard of these before. They're sometimes called forever chemicals because they break down very, very slowly in the environment and in our bodies. These PFAS chemicals have properties that make them very useful for certain industrial applications, including making products resistant to grease, oil, water, and heat. And that's precisely why they've been used in some food packaging, including the lining of many microwave popcorn bags. They help prevent the oil from seeping through the paper and ensure the bag doesn't fall apart under the intense heat of the microwave. So how do these chemicals, if present, get from the bag into our popcorn and potentially into us? Well, when that bag is heated in the microwave, the high temperatures can cause these PFAS chemicals to break down and migrate from the bag's lining into the popcorn itself. The oil and steam inside the hot bag can act as carriers for these compounds. Think of it like this. The chemicals are part of the bag's inner layer, and when everything gets hot and steamy, some of those chemicals can essentially leach out and become part of the snack you're about to eat. Furthermore, when you open that hot bag, some of these volatile compounds can also be released into the steam and fumes, which you might then inhale. So, exposure can happen through both ingestion, eating the popcorn, and inhalation, breathing in the vapors. It's a rather stealthy transfer happening right there in our kitchens, and while the convenience is undeniable, it's this hidden chemical migration that has raised concerns among health researchers and consumer advocates. Now that we have an idea of where these potential toxins come from, let's delve into the more concerning part, how they might affect our bodies, specifically our lungs. This is where the story becomes particularly important for us to understand, as maintaining good lung function is so crucial for our overall vitality, especially as we age. When these PFAS chemicals and other volatile organic compounds released from the heated bags enter our system, either through eating the popcorn or inhaling the steam, they don't just pass through harmlessly. Some research and health experts suggest that these substances can, over time, inflict damage on the delicate cells and tissues that make up our lungs. Imagine your lungs as incredibly intricate structures with tiny air sacs called alveoli, where the vital exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place. These structures are very sensitive. When exposed to certain chemical irritants, like some of the compounds found in these fumes or residues, the lung tissue can become inflamed. Chronic inflammation is a known pathway to tissue damage. The process isn't usually an immediate acute reaction from one bag of popcorn. Rather, the concern is more about the cumulative effect of repeated exposure over months or years. These chemicals can potentially disrupt normal cellular processes. They might interfere with the natural repair mechanisms of the lung tissue or trigger an overactive immune response that leads to chronic inflammation. Some studies have pointed to a condition colloquially known as popcorn lung, bronchiolitis obliterans, which was initially identified in workers at microwave popcorn factories exposed to high levels of diacetyl, a butter-flavoring chemical. While diacetyl has been largely removed or reduced by many manufacturers in the popcorn itself, due to these concerns, the focus has now broadened to include other chemicals present in the packaging and their potential respiratory effects. The worry is that long-term low-level exposure to a cocktail of chemicals, including PFAS from the bags, could contribute to a gradual decline in lung function. What kind of symptoms might indicate that lung function is being compromised? These can be quite general and might easily be attributed to other causes, which is why it's so important to be aware. You might experience increasing shortness of breath, especially during activities that you used to manage easily. Perhaps you find yourself wheezing more often, or you develop a persistent dry cough that just doesn't seem to go away. Some people report a feeling of tightness in their chest, or more frequent respiratory infections. These are all signals that your lungs might be under stress or not working as efficiently as they should. Of course, as I always say, if you experience any of these symptoms persistently, it's essential to see your doctor to get a proper diagnosis, as they can be indicative of various conditions. But understanding potential environmental contributors, like chemicals from food packaging, can be part of a broader conversation about your health. To bring this a little closer to home, and to underscore why this is a conversation worth having, let's consider some of the real-life concerns and stories that have emerged. While it's difficult to draw a direct, unequivocal causal link in every individual case without extensive medical investigation, there are numerous anecdotal accounts and patterns of concern that give us pause. We hear stories, sometimes in community health forums or through consumer advocacy reports, about individuals who were avid consumers of microwave popcorn for many years and later developed unexplained respiratory illnesses or a significant decline in their lung capacity. Imagine someone like, let's call him George, a retiree who loved his nightly ritual of microwave popcorn while watching his favorite shows. For years, that was his go-to snack. Then, gradually, he started noticing he was getting out of breath more easily when walking his dog, something he'd always enjoyed. He developed a nagging cough. After numerous tests, his doctors might have found evidence of lung inflammation or reduced function, perhaps without a clear single cause like smoking or a specific occupational hazard. In such situations, one might start to look at long-term lifestyle factors, including dietary habits and exposure to environmental chemicals, or consider reports from workers in industries that manufacture or use these chemicals. Studies on populations with higher occupational exposure to PFAS have often shown associations with various health problems, including impacts on the respiratory system. While our exposure from a popcorn bag is much lower than in an industrial setting, the concern with forever chemicals is that even low levels of chronic exposure can accumulate in the body over time and potentially lead to health issues down the road. Health organizations and regulatory bodies in various countries have been increasingly scrutinizing PFAS chemicals due to their persistence and links to a range of health concerns, not just lung issues, but also effects on the immune system, liver, and developmental problems. Some research has specifically looked at the fumes released from microwave popcorn bags and identified compounds that are known respiratory irritants. While one bag might not cause immediate harm for most, it's the idea of that repeated long-term exposure that raises a red flag for health-conscious individuals and experts alike. These aren't meant to be scare stories, but rather gentle warnings, illustrations of why it's prudent to be mindful of what we consume and how it's packaged. Before we move on to the more positive and empowering part, what we can do about this, I just want to take a brief moment. If you're finding this information valuable, if it's making you think, or if you know someone who enjoys their microwave popcorn, perhaps you could give this a thumbs up, or even better, share it with them. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. We often discuss topics like this, all aimed at helping us live our healthiest and most informed lives. Your support truly helps more people find this information and it lets me know what kind of content you find most helpful. Now let's shift our focus to the solutions, because knowledge is only truly powerful when it leads to positive action. If microwave popcorn bags do carry these potential risks, what are our alternatives? How can we still enjoy this beloved snack without the worry of these hidden poisons? Thankfully, there are several excellent and easy ways to do just that. This is our poison avoidance guide, if you will. The first and perhaps simplest approach for those who still love the convenience of pre-packaged popcorn is to actively seek out brands that specifically state their packaging is PFAS-free or PFOA-free. PFOA is one of the most well-known types of PFAS. As consumer awareness about these chemicals has grown, some manufacturers have started to respond by using alternative, safer materials for their microwave popcorn bags. You'll need to become a bit of a detective and read the packaging carefully. Look for explicit claims like PFAS-free packaging or no intentionally added PFAS. If a brand doesn't make such a claim, it's harder to know for sure. This might mean switching from your usual brand, but your lungs could thank you for it. However, an even more reliable and often healthier and more economical way to enjoy popcorn is to make it yourself, the old-fashioned way. And believe me, it's not as difficult as it might sound, and the taste is often far superior. One fantastic method is using an air popper. These appliances use hot air to pop the kernels, requiring no oil at all, which makes for a very light and healthy snack. You simply put the kernels in, switch it on, and watch the fluffy popcorn emerge. You can then add your own seasonings, a sprinkle of salt, a dash of nutritional yeast for a cheesy flavor, or even a touch of cinnamon. Another classic method is stovetop popcorn. All you need is a large pot or Dutch oven with a lid, some popcorn kernels, and a little bit of a high-heat cooking oil like coconut oil, avocado oil, or even olive oil, though be mindful of its lower smoke point. You heat the oil, add a few test kernels. When they pop, the oil is ready. Then add the rest of your kernels in a single layer, cover the pot, and gently shake it occasionally as the kernels pop to prevent burning. Within a few minutes, you'll have a pot full of fresh, delicious popcorn. The aroma is wonderful and you have complete control over the ingredients. No mystery chemicals from a bag, just pure popcorn goodness. You can also buy plain popcorn kernels in bulk, which is very cost-effective. Store them in an airtight container and they'll last for a long time. Making it yourself also allows you to control the amount of salt and fat, which is another health bonus, especially if you're watching your sodium intake or prefer to avoid certain types of oils. So the key takeaways for avoiding these potential toxins are: read labels diligently if buying microwave popcorn, looking for PFAS-free claims. Consider investing in an air popper for an easy, oil-free option. Embrace the simple joy and superior taste of stovetop popcorn. By making it yourself, you control all the ingredients, ensuring a healthier snack. These are all straightforward, practical steps you can take to significantly reduce your exposure to these potentially harmful chemicals from microwave popcorn bags. It's about reclaiming control over what goes into your body. So, my dear friends, as we draw our conversation to a close, let's reflect on what we've discussed. We started with the familiar comfort of microwave popcorn, a simple pleasure for many. But we gently peeled back the layers to uncover a potential hidden danger: the presence of chemicals like PFAS in some microwave popcorn bags, which can be released when heated and find their way into our food and the air we breathe. We explored how these forever chemicals and other volatile compounds might, over time, contribute to damaging our precious lung tissue, potentially leading to a decline in lung function and symptoms like shortness of breath, wheezing, or chronic coughing. We acknowledged the real-life concerns and the stories that serve as cautionary reminders to be mindful of long-term, low-level chemical exposures. But most importantly, we didn't stop at the problem. We moved towards solutions, empowering ourselves with knowledge about safer alternatives. We learned that we can actively seek out PFAS-free packaging, or even better, rediscover the simple, wholesome joy of making popcorn ourselves, whether with an air popper or on the stovetop. These methods not only help us avoid potentially harmful chemicals, but also often result in a tastier, healthier, and more economical snack. The message today isn't to demonize popcorn itself. Plain popcorn is a healthy, whole-grain snack. The concern lies specifically with the chemical coatings used in some microwave bags. By choosing to avoid these suspect bags, you are taking a proactive step to protect your respiratory health and overall well-being. It's a small change, perhaps, but one that can contribute to a healthier lifestyle. I encourage you to think about your own snacking habits and those of your family. If microwave popcorn has been a regular feature, perhaps now is a good time to explore these safer alternatives. Share this information with your loved ones, especially those who might be frequent consumers. It's about making conscious choices not out of fear, but out of a desire for good health and a long, vibrant life. Let us all strive to be informed consumers, to question what goes into our food and its packaging, and to choose options that nourish and protect us. Your lungs work tirelessly for you every second of every day. Let's do our part to keep them healthy and strong. Thank you once again for joining me today and for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. It's always a privilege. Until next time, please take wonderful care of yourselves, breathe deeply and freely, and may your choices always lead you towards greater health and happiness. Goodbye for now.